What's up, everybody? Welcome back to GameScoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. I'm joined now by Dan Stapleton, Justin Davis,
Scoop.
Steve Butts.
Howdy.
And now we have all three announcements under our belt. The announcements that came from Valve this week. Monday, they announced a new iOS, Steam iOS?
Steam OS. Steam OS.
Sorry, not an iOS. iOS is a different thing.
Right.
There's no I in Steam iOS.
They announced their hardware beta. They are making their Steambox hardware. And then today we saw the controller, the Steam controller, right? It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
I was initially excited about all this news. There's a lot of PC games that I haven't played just because I don't really enjoy the lean forward, sitting at a desk PC gaming. I like lean back gaming on my couch. I want a Steambox that I can hook up to my TV and play all these PC games. Justin did not respond as favorably to it. You were telling me at lunch you don't know who this is for.
Yeah, so there's two parts of this. There's Justin Davis, the gamer. There's Justin Davis, the person that likes new technology. And he's excited to see what this is and what games it can play. But then if I'm an analyst and trying to look at it from a business perspective, I don't understand who Steam machines appeal to. Like, if you're a really hardcore gamer and you want one of these machines, if you're interested in this, you're reading the news, you're up on the news, you already have a gaming PC, probably. Damon, I think you're the exception. If you're a more casual gamer that just, wants Madden, wants Call of Duty, is excited about Titanfall, you're going to get a next-gen console. So who is the Steam machine for? Who's the segment of consumer?
Well, maybe you are, but maybe you're not. If Valve can say, no, you can get Titanfall on the Steam box, and look, we've got all these other great indie PC games, and we've solved the problem of the input situation that you have with, gamepads, it's hard to play RTSs with a gamepad.
Sure.
Like, nobody's really made a really great strategy game that works on the consoles. Firaxis has done a couple of things that have kind of helped, and Supreme Commander. There are other games that work, but as a whole, the market is not very friendly to those genres in the living room.
Well, I'm operating under the assumption that the Steam box is going to be more than the consoles.
Sure.
So, and we don't know. Like,
What
that's
do you
the
mean, more?
More money, sorry.
You think it's going to cost more?
I think it's
more than $500?
Absolutely.
Oh,
well,
wow.
okay, so there are different levels of Steambox, and they haven't announced exactly what they will be yet, but they've said in the past it will be like a good, better, best kind of thing.
Yeah.
The low end will probably be mostly a streaming machine.
Ouya.
Streaming from your PC somewhere else in your house.
Right.
So you would still need a PC.
Yeah, but also probably have Ouya level graphics on its own, where it can run games that are native to Steam OS.
And that's not even. I want to emphasize that those aren't necessarily junky games. Like there's FTL, there's great low end games that you might be worth playing on a low end piece of hardware.
Yeah, and there's lots of stuff that's available. I think the Steam Linux section right now has 250 games?
More, 400 plus.
Yeah. Not all of them are worth playing necessarily, but there are plenty of them out there, and very few of those, with the exception of the ones that the Valve has made itself. Like all of Valve's games are cross-platform across PC, Mac, and Linux, and consoles. But with the exception of those, very few of them require a lot of graphical oomph to make that happen. But you will still be able to play, if you have a gaming PC in your house on your home network, you will still be able to stream your PC games to your TV using this box. The higher level Steam machines are basically just PCs that will come pre-installed with Steam OS. At least that's what they've led us to believe so far.
So they call it SteamOS?
You could call it that, yes.
There's a potential for confusion, right? I mean,
There's
maybe it's already confusing, right? If you buy an Xbox, any Xbox you game, you know it's going to play on there, right? But if there's a variety of different Steam boxes, you don't know if Titanfall can play on your box, right?
Well, see, that's why I have a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. I think there's a 50-50 chance that they'll do something like this. I think they might have SteamOS might come with diagnostic tools built in, baked into the machine itself. You can benchmark your computer now using various benchmarking tools.
Windows user experience.
Yeah, the Windows user experience stuff. But there's third-party benchmarking tools that this is how graphic cards are rated, right? And you can see how it rates on these different 3D benchmarking tools. And I think my suspicion is that they might have something like that baked into the OS itself. That
like it wouldn't let you buy Titanfall unless
so it'll say look, you have a level 7 computer, and to run Skyrim on ultra settings, you need level 6 or higher.
It creates a huge customer support marketing problem for them. But let's not forget,
is that a problem? It solves the problem, I think.
Well,
if they had that system, yes.
But you have the problem already with the absence of a return market in digital, right? Like, I buy a digital game and it doesn't work. What do I do? Like, I can't take it back to the store. That doesn't work. And if you've got this added sort of ambiguity in the hardware profiles, I think that's a big can of worms for them.
I mean, I'm suggesting removing the ambiguity, though. Like, right now, it's a big pain point in PC gaming. I bought Skyrim. It runs fine on my computer, but, it kind of runs somewhere in between medium and high, and I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. Is it going to run well? Is it not going to run well? I can do a lot of research and look that up. or I can just buy it on the Xbox, and I'm good to go. And so if you can say, look, I got, my computer is a level 5 Steam machine, so it's going to run these 500 games just fine. And if I can know that and I'm good to go, that solves a problem, in my opinion.
Well, so here's the thing, though. They could have done that years ago, and they haven't. And I presume it's probably because of a lot of different factors where you can never, even if you benchmark a PC, you can never really be sure that a game is going to perform well because of all kinds of driver considerations and
There's
bugs.
weird interactions between CPUs and GPUs.
Yeah, there's all kinds. I mean, like PCs have literally millions of different possible configurations, and that's not even factoring in the software. So I think that the only way they'd be able to do that is by selling a specific model of PC, which would be the Steam box. And I don't think they'd be able to do the benchmarking kind of thing any better than they can now.
Yeah, sure.
And we should clarify here what a Steam machine is just a PC. Like that, they have told us nothing about to expect anything other than just a PC that has their OS installed on it. You will be able to download Steam OS and put it on an existing computer that you have. It's basically just Linux, and Linux runs on anything. It'll run on a Mac.
What's a layer on top? It's going to be Steam Big Picture Mode running on Linux.
Right.
Basically.
I mean, well, the OS there will be Steam OS that will be pared down to basically focus on games, and then Steam will run on top of that, very tightly integrated.
For me, the exciting thing is we're seeing now in the hardware and OS environments the same thing we used to see just in the software market, right? Like user-created content has always been a big thing on the PC and is now making a big splash on the consoles. With games like Minecraft and things like that. But we still haven't seen like the full-on 100% committed to mod support attitude that we see on the part of that we used to see from like say Epic, right? Now we're seeing Valve come out and say we want to extend that attitude and that sort of agency to the market with regard to the hardware platform and the OS entirely, right? Like it's based on Linux. It's very open source. So what's exciting to me is what are other people going to do with this thing, not what's Valve going to do with it.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's lots of opportunities there, and Valve could very well have a Steam workshop for Steam OS.
I mean, I don't see how they could, like, Steam OS is just Steam, as far as we know.
Right.
We don't know. Like, there's a lot of questions, but that's the impression that I got, is I'd be very surprised if Steam OS didn't have Steam Workshop and all the features you expect from that run on Steam right now.
Yep. We haven't seen anything about what Steam OS actually is yet, so a lot of this is pure speculation.
How do you think the controller is going to factor into it with the trackpads and everything?
It's a fascinating design, I think. We're not really going to know how it works in practice until we get our hands on it.
Right. I mean, a controller, like, it's pure, like, you have no idea what you're talking about until you put your hands on it, right. and in this case, it looks like until we've actually used it to play a game, because so much of it is based on their idea that haptic feedback on those touchpads. It's got 2 touchpads for your thumbs, and so there's no control stick, there's no D-pad, it's just touchpads.
It's got some ridges so that you can know without looking down that you're centered on it.
Yeah. They're kind of a convex.
Yeah.
There's a concave. It's concave.
Yeah.
It's a concave touchpad, and it will vibrate in a very specific way. They're claiming some very advanced haptic feedback technology that could be really interesting.
Well, I've had experience with some of that. There was a company I think called iTouch or iSense. There was a company about 10 years ago that came out with a line of mice that used a very texture-specific kind of force feedback where it could feel soft or hard or brittle, which I thought was really cool. And nobody ever really used that for gaming. You just get that sort of one-size-fits-all rumble in all the game pads.
There's a couple interesting things with the control pad that, like, it's so foreign and alien and strange and different that it's taken, kind of sort of the course of the day to sort of sink in. One thing that didn't dawn on me right away is that there are buttons on the left side of this control pad that you will be hitting with your left thumb. Like, that's new. Like, we just haven't seen, like, that's going to feel, that just shows how Valve is willing to do things different and crazy than what other people do.
Is that different than like a D-pad on an Xbox controller?
Well, sure, but like, so there are a few games like GTA that you use like the right D-pad for actual game actions, but for the most part, no. For the most part, your left thumb is usually only used for movement in games.
One of the things Valve said is this is a controller that is entirely symmetrical.
Yep.
So if you're a left-handed gamer, it doesn't matter because the buttons are laid out the same left to right.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. I think so. They have to convince PC gamers that this controller is a viable alternative to using a mouse and keyboard. If you're a PC gamer right now, it's as easy as picking up your mouse and moving it on the other side of your keyboard, and then suddenly you have a left-handed gaming setup. Controllers aren't like that traditionally. They haven't been. If you're a lefty, you can't really flip things around. You don't have any option to do that, and now you do, and I think that's pretty cool.
It'll be really interesting to see if their claims of how precise this thing is will actually hold up to, compared to a mouse and keyboard. They're saying you can play an RTS with this, which is a pretty bold claim for a gamepad. And not just an RTS that's designed for a controller, but an actual, they're saying you can play StarCraft or Supreme Commander or something like that with this.
What do you think your APM could be on StarCraft with this controller?
My APM is terrible with a mouse and keyboard.
So is mine.
Probably not, probably not very good. But if you can play League of Legends from your couch, that would be pretty huge. And it's all customizable. The what button does what. So if you could conceivably map that out to be a pretty good usable system.
I mean, I think.
How much do you think the Friends and Family announcement earlier played into this? Is this part of one package?
I think it's kind of the continual evolution of Steam. I mean, it's never really been that big a deal to share a Steam account between two people because. Right. If you log on in one place, if you're playing with a Steam account and I log into that same Steam account, it will kick you off.
What are you doing to my Steam account, Brian?
But it is this is kind of similar to that, except that there is a warning period, and I don't have to give out my password if I want to share my Steam account. So it's not that big of a transition for them.
It seems to fit better with the living room experience. Just
whole
just turn it on and
thing,
go, and then you don't really need to think about it too much.
And it could very well be that this will play into if you have a Steam OS box in your living room that logs into your Steam account, it won't kick you off of the Steam account on your desktop PC. So it could be something to do with that. They needed to have people logged in simultaneously to the same account anyway, so why not do it?
I think, I still go back to the business side of it. I hate to sound so negative because I'm actually pretty excited about the Steam Box, and I do want one.
No, you don't.
What are you going to talk? What do you say? What does that mean? Why not?
I believe the quote was, "It's dumb."
Right? Yeah.
I didn't say it's dumb.
What are you talking about? Those are the literal words you said.
When at lunch?
No, right before we started filming. Maybe it's on camera. We'll see if it's on camera.
I just don't. I'm very skeptical. The part of me that's skeptical is that I feel like Damon is a special case. Damon is someone that.
Oh, jeez.
You're someone that is interested in PC gaming, wants to play PC games, but doesn't like sitting at a desk playing it, and doesn't own a powerful PC right now. I don't know how many people there are that are out there like that. So, for someone to want a Steam Box, it needs to be a gamer that. Has the money to spend. It's going to be. Dan, I'm thinking $800. That's the number that I have in my head.
It depends on what kind of machine you're looking at.
But to run modern games.
Mm-hmm. It depends on what kind of game you're
ballpark it for me, Dan.
Okay,
because I'm making a point here.
Right. So if they're building a machine to play games built to run on Linux,
sure,
then you don't need a very powerful machine at all. You could probably get away with a $400 machine, $400 or $500.
Okay, so you need a machine that you're buying that instead of a next gen console.
Yes,
all right. That's the price equivalent there. Mm-hmm. And so, who is the gamer that buys that instead of a PS4 or an Xbox One?
I mean,
who is it? Someone that already has a PC? Is it someone that doesn't have a PC that's interested? I don't get it. I don't know who the audience is.
I don't think that people that have existing gaming PCs will be interested in that level of Steam Box.
So that's a huge portion of Steam's audience already just lopped right off.
Well, no, because there are people that somebody like me or you who has a gaming PC would still buy the low end Steam Box, plug it into our TVs, and we can stream from our PCs,
yeah,
right?
That's true. I'm not married to what I'm saying right now at all. I'm waiting for someone to convince me and explain to me, who the audience is.
Right. I do think that Valve is positioning it to compete with current gen or next gen consoles.
That's what I wanted to ask. On the eve of the release of Xbox One and PS4, is this a disruptive third console that's entering, or is it a separate thing?
What would make it disruptive is if Valve, as a game publisher at that point, said, "Hey, do you want to play Half-Life 3?
It's exclusive."
Guess what?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's a real thing. They wouldn't say goodbye entirely to the console market, but they have some muscle there, I think. That title has enough. Sure. There's enough anticipation that people will care where it is first.
If they had Half-Life 3, Left 4 Dead 3, Portal 3, Team Fortress 3, then it'd be hilarious if Valve suddenly counted to 3-4 times. But
the new orange box.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Basically, if they had that kind of catalog exclusive to the Steam Box, then suddenly they have something to compete with anything on.
So you don't think they would release those games on PC, on Windows?
I think they would.
That's what I think.
But because that would still be tied to the Steam ecosystem.
They're just PC games, right?
So and either way though, the OS that you run it on a PC is free. So even if they did make that a Steam OS exclusive, it would be an extra hurdle you'd have to jump through to play it, but you could do it at no extra cost.
Steam right now is a platform, right? It's just on the software side.
Steam's my platform of choice. That's why I want to like. It's
Even though you think this is dumb.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I'm stuck in this weird spot where I'm skeptical about the Steam box, even though I love Steam.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not skeptical of it as a product. I think it's going to be very cool. I'm intrigued about the controller. I'm skeptical about its ability to really make a splash when it launches.
And I totally agree with you that like as I see on Twitter, like lots of PC gamers getting like super hyped about the Steam box. PC gamers should not be hyped about the Steam box.
What does it do for you that you don't already have?
They already have a Steam box. Like the Steam OS, maybe. Like that is something that could help you.
Like your Steam box is taking an HDMI cable and plugging it into your TV from your computer.
And
it's strange to me.
That's what I keep trying to explain to
Not that
people.
simple.
Well, it is.
The controller, though, like that's what you would need, right?
Yeah, it's just not the same thing. It's just having a dedicated box that you just turn on and you go.
Sure.
Right. And one thing that you can bet SteamOS will do is have at least a mode where you can pop up big picture mode and just go.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it appeals to me. I have something like 300 or 400 Steam games. So yeah, for sure. I'm super interested to see how they play on a controller. I like playing games in my living room. I live in San Francisco. I don't have a nice big office to play games in. So like I get it from that perspective. I don't know how many people care about Steam machines will care about Steam machines still. I mean,
I don't know. I think obviously right now it's not even like we don't even know what a Steam machine looks like. It's too far out for it to actually be competitive with the PS4 or the Xbox One. In another year, that could very well change.
That's the other thing. This sounds early to me.
They
announced it.
They're beta testing pretty soon, right? Like October 25th, I think, is the cutoff for people to get into the program.
But the beta test is like the controller doesn't have the touchscreen and it's wired only. Like it seems like I get the weird sense. Like the announcement was polished and like the Q&A is kind of funny and the website looks nice and the renders all look good. But like they're announcing this thing kind of early. Like it doesn't seem finished yet. There's a lot they're not saying. There's a lot they haven't announced. It's sort of like an announcement of an announcement. Hey, we're working on this thing that's going to come down the line.
I think their expectation, though, is that they want to crowdsource a lot of the development of the hardware and the software and the catalog. Right?
It's them getting out in front of, like, they can't beta test it and expect it to remain secret.
Right? Yeah.
So they can't send those boxes and those OSs out without expecting that to be posted all over the internet the next day. So they're just getting out in front of it and saying, here's what we've got. We're going to be beta testing it, and that way they control the message instead of having people speculating about it.
It's totally different from Sony and Microsoft who come out and say, "This is our new console. This is what it is. We've already decided everything."
That's a great
Whereas
point.
Valve is like, "This is kind of what we're thinking about. What do you guys think?"
That does appeal to me tremendously. I'm kind of the skeptic on this panel, and what I do love about this announcement is the wide open nature of it. Yeah. Look, you can build your own Steam box. You can buy one from us. You can buy one from another manufacturer.
Here's the OS.
Yeah, here's our controller. Hack it. Make a Steam box that runs Linux. Also boot into Windows if you want. Do whatever you want. Like
you don't have to use the controller, and that's an important note. With this controller, you don't have to use that at all.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So that's very, very appealing. That coupled with the Steam sales and Steam already being a very rock solid infrastructure. I have fast internet. Love getting games on Steam. That makes a better point to me than some of the other stuff that I've read so far.
And actually, if you want to talk about how this would compete with a Xbox One or PlayStation 4, unless those guys adopt the Steam model of sales,
they have to.
That will utterly blow them away when it comes along. It will be exponentially cheaper to play recent games on a Steam box than it is on a next-gen console.
Think about all the ways that we've seen cool YouTube videos and demos of people who have hacked the technology in the Wiimotes and in the Kinect and done something really cool with it that has never made it into a game, right? Because Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo have such a tight control over the first-party development of that hardware.
Yeah.
With Steambox, it sounds like that's not an issue at all. If you make a really cool scanning interface or something interesting that has some real applicability to games, the barrier to getting that out to the market is much lower on the Steambox than it would be here. So in terms of innovation, I'm super excited. I do agree I have some reservations about the business model and what is this going to look like.
But I also don't think,
Valve.
To counter my own argument, like if they sell these Steam machines at a profit, which, they almost certainly would, there's no reason to sell it at a loss like you need to do with an Xbox and PlayStation. That's not their business model. Like, it almost doesn't matter how many they sell. Like, they'll sell what they sell, and then people will use Steam using the Steam OS, or they'll use Steam on PCs, and it's sort of like, hey, man, do what you want. And, if we sell 100 of them, if we sell 100 million of them, it's kind of business as usual over at Valve potentially.
Yeah, I mean, like their whole thing is to get Steam in more places. They don't care how you're using Steam. They just want you using Steam because every game sold on Steam they get a taste of.
I guess I'm coming around a little bit.
So it's
Hey, changing minds.
I mean, so
Did we even need to be here for this?
Yes.
So here's one thing that a lot of people have been talking about that isn't going to happen. Valve will not subsidize this hardware. They can't.
They have no reason to.
Well, they do have a reason to because they want it in as many places as possible. They want you playing on that instead of an Xbox, so that you buy from them and not from Microsoft. But they cannot subsidize it directly because these are just PCs. Like if I was starting up a business and I needed cheap PCs for my office, I would just buy a bunch of subsidized PCs and then never play games on them. So they can't do that. Yeah. What they can do is and for one thing, they're already saving money over a typical PC because they don't have to pay Microsoft for an OS license.
They're also saving on specs. The presumption is that a similarly spec'd machine running Windows versus running SteamOS, you'll get a performance boost in your games in SteamOS.
Conceivably, yes, because the OS will be lighter weight than
lean.
Windows because it will be designed to play games and virtually nothing else.
Right.
And web browsing, of course. And once you have a web browser these days, you can do virtually anything.
Yeah.
So the other thing that they can do is give you discounts or credit towards Steam purchases. So you buy a $400 box, but get or buy a $1,000 box even, and get a discount on all your future Steam purchases because they can cut that out of the take that they take from game makers, game publishers, because they're a retailer like any other retailer. So when you pay $50 for a game on Steam, they get a chunk of that. Mm-hmm. They can take that out of their end and pass the savings along to you in return for your investment in there. And then all of a sudden you are somebody who has just bought into the Steam ecosystem is now locked into the Steam ecosystem because they have all these games they don't want to give up.
Well, Valve's gotten a lot more savvy over the years about, in a very gentle way, not in a mean way, but sort of twisting the arms of developers to really leverage the weight and the value of being on Steam. They would do things like when they launched on Linux, they ran a big sale. Any game that supported Linux, you could be a part of the sale, and everyone knows that Steam sales are where it's at for game developers. That's how they make all their money. When they launched Steam trading cards, any game that had trading cards is in this new trading cards category. It's another opportunity to get in front of people. And if you have your game on SteamOS, look, we're going to give you placement on the home page of the shopping page. We're going to give you its own special category, its own special leaderboard, its own special all this stuff. Just like the App Store, just like all these platforms, you need to get in front of people in as many different ways as you can. And you can be sure they'll do all that sort of thing to up that number of Linux games from 400 to 800 to 8,000.
Yeah, and it's like Valve is basically declaring war on Microsoft here. Wow. Like they want Microsoft off of gaming PCs. They don't want Windows there anymore. They don't want an Xbox controller there anymore. Like they want Microsoft just out of the picture.
I agree with him. I mean, really, look at the support Microsoft has failed to give Windows gaming year after year after year. As more and more titles debut on Xbox and old PC franchises completely disappear, it's annoying. As a longtime PC gamer, I'm very frustrated by that. So I'm happy to see Valve kind of take a stand there.
I agree. I mean, as a gamer that loves, maybe there's not a lot of gamers like me, but I like really weird experimental indie stuff. I buy all the Humble Bundles, and I play AAA stuff. And it's like, you can get the AAA stuff on consoles, and they're getting a lot better about indie support too, but they're still not wide open in the way that PCs are, right? It's really like PC and mobile is where hot, weird, experimental indie stuff is. And it's like a Steam box could provide that in a way that an Xbox or PS4 couldn't.
Do you guys remember the Phantom?
Yeah.
So ever since I heard about the Phantom, I wanted a box hooked up to my TV where I could just play PC games with no fuss. So that's why the Steam box is exciting for me.
Well, and the only exciting thing about the Phantom was the lap board. And that actually did come out, and it was terrible.
Yeah. That's what actually made it out. So the beta begins later this year.
Well, October 25th is
Very
the
tiny.
cutoff for consideration for the beta. Right. There's going to be a very limited number of slots.
You're supposed to be able to buy one next year.
Yeah, sometime in 2014.
That's another reason why I think that they announced this kind of early, like maybe earlier than they had to get out in front of the next-gen consoles, is that beta is 300 people is all. Okay, just 300. Like, that's beyond tiny. Like...
Yeah,
they're still in the discovery phase, the information gathering phase for sure. Like it seems like a real beta, not a marketing beta.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. That's all the scoops we have here this week. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Steve. My name is Damon. This is IGN Game Scoop, and we're out.
Just smash a beer can in your face.
So are we gonna talk about day 1, day 2, day 3, or are we gonna do it all in one big
We
one?
just do all one. We know it all now. We don't have to go down the line.
Okay.
Where's your beer?
Well,
All right, guys, I'm rolling, so Damon, when you are ready, take it away.
That might be a good idea to compartmentalize it like that, because otherwise it's all going to become one big mishmash. I don't know.
Damon knows what Damon do.
Damon does what Damon does.
Damon does what Damon do.
Yes.
I like that.
Don't do what Donnie Damon don't do. Yeah.
Anyway,